Okay, so this is video 3. Now I converted line 7 back to a drop-down menu. Um, and so presumably you would have the problem, like a comprehensive tax return problem, and you would enter as many as of these options as you would wish. Um, there might be some false flags here, some red herrings where, let's say you have a drop down for alimony, but there isn't actually alimony, so you can have that as an option too. Um, you could have, obviously a mix of drop down, multiple choice, and fill in the blanks. You can do whatever you want. I showed you the one. We don't need to, waste time and go through all the other ones. So I'm going to show you how to export this and basically set it up so you can automatically grade this, because presumably you're going to have a lot of students in your classes, and this will be useful for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Distribute Form here. Now, the way this is actually set up is that it's designed that you're going to distribute these forms through email, and that's all well and good, but presumably it probably wouldn't work too well in an academic setting. So we're going to kind of like game it in some ways so that we could basically create just a static file that we could upload to our online learning system like Blackboard or D2L or Moodle, whatever you have. So go to Distribute Form, Save Changes. Yes, we'll save changes. And what that does is it closes LiveCycle and goes back to Adobe. So what we're going to want to do is select this, manually collect responses in my email inbox, even though we're not going to be doing that. So next. And what we want to do here, this is important, save a local copy and manually send it later. So, and then we're going to specify where we want to save it, and that's fine for me. So hit next again. And this just reminds you what's going on, and hit finish. So now that file is saved. So what we're going to do, what we can do is we can see it. So go to open, we're going to open that file. And this was just created. So this is, there's a distributed and there's a responses. So the distributed is the one we created. So this is what we have, and this is how it would look to the students. And we could see we have their options, that hover, remember to enter a value is there. So they can enter their value, do whatever, save the file, and they would download this from D2L or Blackboard, whatever, save the file, and then upload it again so you could collect it. So what I'm going to show you, I'm going to close this because I have some other files that I've used, some programs I've used. So you're going to go down, you're going to use Tools, select Tools, Forms, and then more form options. Select that, Manage Form Data, and then merge data files into a spreadsheet. So select that. And we're going to add files. So I'm going to select, these are all the submissions that I had for a bonus assignment that I had for students. And through D2L, I'm able to basically download them all as a batch. And what's nice about that is it adds the students' names and the date they submitted and all that stuff. So I'm going to select all of these, open. And I'm also going to add, which I had in another folder here, this is basically my master file that has the correct answers that I supplied in there. So I'm going to open that too. And then I'm going to hit export. And then it's going to ask me what I want to do. So I want to save a file, and you have to have a CSV file. That's what you want. So save. So it's done, and I want to view the file. And then we have our big CSV file here. So every single point that was entered is basically its own row. So we see married filing jointly, that's what that is. Dependents, names, all that stuff. Now it kind of depends on how you want to set this up and the instructions. But basically we see the students. This is all this other stuff, and effectively, I don't really care about the address. I'm not going to grade them on that. But what I want to do is make sure sometimes you have to play a little bit with sorry about that. You got to play a little bit with making sure this data is all lined up. So you can see here that because it was a different type of file, this wasn't a submitted one. These ones are this is offline, my master file here. So I'm just going to select all of these and move it over one so it's all lined up. And what we got to do is just kind of get rid of some of these rows here. So you can get some of these rows out. And we want to keep a few rows ahead so we can grade this appropriately. So this takes just a little bit of time, deleting the rows that don't have entries. And it's kind of up to you, because sometimes, with some of these entries, we also see things like, for whatever reason, this one's kind of off kilter here. So we'll correct this. Oops. So sometimes there's a little bit of data kind of manipulation just to make it work right. And actually, we don't need any of those. These were all basic things. So let's go here. And this does take a little bit of time, especially, with a 1040 form that has so many different boxes on it, or in it, that we have a lot of things. So we got rid of that. So first thing I want to do is basically, I'm going to grade this that each item is basically worth the same value. So I can go through and just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. We can get a little bit fancier. I'll make this bigger. You can get a little fancier if we want. Use some functions. So we can go to count. And we can just scroll here. This might be easier if you have a really big one. And we see we have 12. So we know we have 12. And we can sign that. So that's basically the number of entries we could have, the possible answers, the questions effectively that are being asked. So now we want to know how many of those answers we got right. And this is my Robinson Test 1 bonus problem. So these are the correct answers. So we want to compare the students' answers. And this was an empty file, so I'm just going to get rid of that. So we can compare the student answers with my correct answers here. So this is a little bit tricky. So we have to use the sum product function. And the sum product function basically counts up the matches, but it counts them as true or falses. And we don't want true or false, we want a number. How many match? So what we have to do is put it in this double negative, because that converts the true false reply to a numerical reply. So, true, false, we want to know of these entries that equal that same array. And close off the function, and we see obviously 12 for 12. Now if we go up here, we want to add in our, press F4 to add in the dollar signs, so that the equal, whatever the array is, that's going to change as we scroll up and drag our function, but we want the test answers to be the same. So select that, scroll this through all the students, and we see our answers. So 11 of 12, 6 of 12, 8 of 12, 3 of 12, and so on and so forth. And then we can convert that into a percentage. And we can drag that all the way down. You see the different percentages. And actually, if you want to, put in another row here, we can put this into a points format. When I originally did this was out of 50 points, so we could do 50 points times the percentage. And obviously we don't want that as a percentage, we want that as a number. Drag that through, and we can see how many points a student would have earned, and we could, then take this and put it into a grade book, however you want to do it. So you see, with a little manipulation, it takes a little while to set it up, but no more than a couple minutes. Obviously much quicker than if we manually had to grade each one of these forms. Especially, there's only, I think, 26, 27 entries here, but if we had 227 entries, this would all take a fraction of the time. And that's manipulating it in Excel, and we've basically graded our automatic form. And that's it. Thanks.